So we've had a slight change in the program now. So instead of Logan, we're going to have the first personal perspective of the day, and the first personal perspective comes from Christian Bolton, Edinburgh, who has got a diagnosis of BBS in 2015 and has achieved an awful lot despite being a very young person. And he's going to come and talk to us today about what he's done, how he's achieved everything. So thank you.
Right, so first act as trustee. Remember, you elected me democratically. Just remember that. So you can't complain afterwards. So from an early age, it's talking about adaptability and perseverance. I'm going to start off with perseverance, and I know it's about some of the things I've achieved and on a sporting level, but just from the start, at a very, very early age, pre-birth, had to persevere. As the doctors at QE2 Hospital, Welwyn Garden City, tried to convince my mother that I should not be born, that I was going to die because I had kidney cysts, I had tumours. Thankfully, they disappeared on the machinery a month before I was born, so here I am today. Then at 6 months old, I have to thank Great Ormond Street Hospital, because without them, I would not be here. Whether it is BBS related, we're not sure. My intestines got caught up, and essentially, the food was getting trapped, it couldn't go anywhere, and their intervention saved my life. But as I said, I don't know if that's BBS related. It might have been, but it's unlikely. But thankfully, I'm still here. Me and the doctors persevered and can present to you lovely people today. So, as I said, it's about sports, a focus on sports. So from a very young age, been heavily involved in sports. I have to thank my parents for that, with my father being an ex-British cyclist in the army and my mother being a school runner. They were really interested in getting me involved in sports from a young age, not only because of the weight side, but just of the mental benefits that we've seen from Dr. Forsyth's study. So it is greatly important to be active from a young age. So my mum threw me into football, I did cycling through my dad. She took me playing tennis every week. So from about the age of 6 to 12, I was doing some sort of sport every week, just remaining very active. And I got to the age of 11, and unfortunately the doctor said, oh, because of the extra toe that you had, they didn't realise this was BBS related. As was mentioned, I didn't get a diagnosis until 2015. They just thought there was this condition that the bones were joined back to the ankle, calling what was a C-bone, and that essentially by the age of 18, I'd be in a wheelchair. They said, well, we think you'll never be able to play sports again. You won't be able to do any cycling, no tennis. So they said, oh, you could do an operation. But I didn't want that. I didn't believe it was that feasible. So I've gone on, I persevered, and they turned out to be wrong. So you've got to believe in your own instincts sometimes. Because Phil won't like me saying this, sometimes medical professionals can be erroneous, just occasionally. But I believe in Phil. You can trust in Phil. No, so throughout my teenage years, I'm not sure why, but I just sort of, the sport curtailed off and I put on a lot of weight, and it's most likely this was BBS related in terms of I got to a high of around 17, 18 stone around the age of 16. And I have to credit moving to another school with greatly supportive teachers. They just threw me in, they said, oh, you've got to become more confident. And they just made me believe that anything was possible. So I thought, well, I may not have the most talent when it comes to sport, but I have a real interest into it. So if I throw myself hour after hour after hour, let's see what happens. So from 16 to 18, about 10, 12 hours a weekend, I'll be at the tennis court, just learning, just picking up what I'd seen on TV, just trying to adapt what I'd played from an early age. And when I went off to university in North Wales, Bangor, which is a lovely place if anyone's thinking of going there, I highly recommend it. I got selected for the tennis team, thinking, oh, this is great. I could play university tennis. This is a big stage to get myself onto. And I went along to the trials, lovely indoor venue. And for some reason, something was holding me back. I was just like slow to react to the ball. I wasn't seeing the ball until it was my feet. I was having to play half volleys. I was just getting beaten left, right and centre by players who, I mean, most of them are much better than me, but some were sort of like of a similar ability and I couldn't understand it. Of course, a couple of years later, we know why. I've got BBS and I'm only got about 20, 30% central vision. so I'm at a greater disadvantage for my sighted players. So I carried on. I tried to adapt by doing a lot of running. I thought, well, there's got to be a way around this, surely. Do a lot more exercise, do a lot more running. And it was working for a while. But I've actually found my diagnosis of BBS a benefit. It actually opened up me in terms of an approach of every day, not taking things for granted. I think before it was almost, well, I could do that tomorrow, I could do that next week. Whereas now thinking, well, I don't know how much longer I'm going to have this level of sight, as it does most likely erode, like it does in BBS. I thought, let's just seize the day. So I went searching what visually impaired sports are there out for me. I carried on playing pool and snooker because unfortunately that's, I forgot to mention, I've done that from a young age. And I love doing that, but unfortunately there's no adaptive form of the game, so I carried on plugging away, persevering. And thankfully I got selected for the Wales team. The only visually impaired player at the university's home championships. I mean, yeah, Wales did come last. We did win a few games, so I'm... Look, that wasn't my fault. I won. I was one of the second highest players in terms of win ratio, so, you know, I can't take all the blame. So I won 4 out of 12 against players in the opposing teams who were like county level, semi-professional level, so I take great pride from that. I found a level, although I can't go any further, I found that I could compete to an ability at the highest level, and that'll be one of my proudest achievements, being with BBS, playing for Wales against fully sighted players and holding them to account. So, as I was going back to the tennis, I've digressed a bit. We've got some lovely pictures of me there, modelling for BBS. So, for those of you who can see the picture on the right, this was after my quarter-final victory in the British Championship last year. Unfortunately, I was knocked out in the next round to the world champion, so I've got a bit of a grudge against him because he's beaten me every time I played him. I'm getting there. So, Chris Bailey, if you're watching, I'm after you. I'll beat you one day. This year, I was selected as reserve for the British team for the World Championships. Unfortunately, I was deemed to have too much size, so I'm in the middle ground at the moment, but I still have the aspiration of being a world champion and being BBS's first world champion in a sport. I want to be world champion at visually impaired tennis. I've got aspirations. I want to go as far as I can. And getting BBS, as I said, has opened up those potentials for me, because before thinking I was just mediocre at the sports, I've now got the focus to train. I mean, I loved exercising in the past, but I've got this real goal to work for because of being visually impaired. And I know that may sound strange, but it really has. I found a level that I can play at where I've lost to the world champion a couple of times, but I've run him close, which is amazing. And it feels really, I've said before, motivational. But it was because before I thought I'd hit a glass ceiling. I thought, well, I can't go any further. I'm going up against people who are fully sighted. No matter how much I run, no matter how much I try and do scramble tennis, as I call it, wasn't working. But now I've found this form of the game, and I'm going from strength to strength. I mean, I haven't been able to put as much focus into my sports in the last year. I've been studying a course known as the Legal Practice course. Some of you are already aware I want to be a family law solicitor, focusing on divorce law and international child abduction, helping families keep hold of their children in divorce. Because of the intensity of that course, having BBS, working 50, 60-hour weeks, I haven't been able to train. However, I do take pride from the fact that I did reach the semi-final. I've won my club tournament twice this year in tennis. I didn't want to bring the trophies because I thought I might damage them, and my mum's quite proud of them, so, you know, I'm not sure she'd be happy if I brought them back with a dent in them because I've dropped them. And this year I have a structure. I'm not winging it as I did like 2 years ago, so I can actually keep a good focus to this talk. So, as you very kindly today, you've elected me as a trustee. My great thanks for that. Due to my past endeavours, sporting, I want to increase the opportunities available to our members in terms of being able to signpost you to inclusive groups that will give you sports that you want. If you come to me and tell me or email me what sports you're interested in, we can both work to finding out countries across the UK. I mean, I know I'm based in London. People may think I have a preference to London. That's not true. It's just that they're the contacts I've built up, and I'm slowly building up a database for BBS. We've got London, we've got Birmingham, Newcastle, Liverpool, slowly building up that cohort of areas that we can help our members go to, because of course with BBS we're spread across the country. So yeah, as I said, we can work together. If you give me an indication of what sports you want, we can signpost you to those groups and get you involved, because having BBS doesn't stop you being able to do these sports. It's just finding the right people, the right groups. I've raised money for the charity. It's not up here, but 2 years ago, I cycled across Holland for BBS. I've even bled for the charity. So there you go, that's Perseverance. I crashed 3 times on that trip. Yeah, me and tramlines aren't friends. I got my front wheel caught in a tramline a couple of times and just toppled over. And I ended up in a canal on one of the crashes. Well, we came down a zigzag down a hill, and it was a tight bend, and I just didn't bend quick enough, and I ended up in the canal, much to the fun of Alan Clark. Yeah, it was quite a sight. Everyone was trying hard not to laugh. But yes, as I said, I want to help with the sporting side for members. Also the employment. I've been working with a group called Royal Society of Blind Children. Although they're only based in Greater London at the moment, they're hoping to expand out. They do run a family service for the rest of England, England and Wales, sorry. And they're very interested in working with our members. Unfortunately, they couldn't come here today. It's a real shame, because they would have been able to really help with questions that you might have. The only downside is they only work with people for the age of 25, 26. For our younger members, that might help. But again, as with the sport, I'm trying to build up a database, a cohort of charities that we can go to for employment advice. I mean, I know there's going to be one of the following speakers will be talking about employment advice, but it's just having groups, again, that we know we can signpost our members to. So again, if you want to talk about that, I'll be here all throughout the afternoon. I'll happily help direct you to the charities that I know of at the moment that can help. I'd just like to finish in terms of, before I'm welcome to questions. Actually, sorry, I've forgotten one important thing. In June, I'm testing with the England blind cricket team. That is open to our members. I actually play for the Northampton cricket team, so if there's anyone here interested in trying VI cricket, the Northampton Steels cricket team are looking for members and would be interested in anyone wanting to try a taster of the sport. We run regular training sessions. It's done indoors, and it's done with a football, so you don't have to wear any protective gear. And it's a really great inclusive sport in terms of you don't even have to have held a cricket bat ever before in your life. I haven't done it for 10 years, and I've come into it, and it's amazing, because when I played it as a kid, I didn't realise I was struggling again, that whole aspect of not knowing this hidden syndrome. And coming into VI cricket, you can just pick up the bat, you'll have a coach on hand to learn. Same with the VI tennis, you've got VI coaches, you've got accredited LTA staff. It's really professional, but also at the same time inclusive and helpful. So the best example I can give of that, not Mr. Bailey, but with the first World Championships, the woman who won a silver medal for Britain, 2 years before, she'd never picked up a tennis racket in her life. She'd never played the sport. And within 2 years, she'd won a silver medal for Britain because of the way the system works. VI tennis is the fastest growing tennis sport in the UK. It outstrips mainstream tennis, wheelchair tennis. So the Tennis Foundation are very proud of that, and they're very helpful. They run regional tournaments throughout the year. If you want to compete in any of the sports that I've talked about, the way you'd go about it, Logan might be talking about this in his British Blind Sport presentation, you would need a classification from British Blind Sport. It's quite easy. I did mine with Dr. Mohammed of BBS. He did the test with me, peripheral and central vision, and it's just sent off to British Blind Sport, and then they put you in a category, and then you can play. And then that puts you on a level playing field, because then you're only playing against your peers that have the same sight issues to you, more or less. I mean, you have to allow for a window of flexibility, because each sight condition, as we know, especially with Bardet-Biedl, is completely different. but they try and have this operating window. But yeah, if there's any sports that people would like to try, I'm more than welcome for you to come up at any point during the weekend and talk to me, ask me about it. I can direct you. I would like to finish with a quote, and it's from Nelson Mandela. I think it's actually quite apt for us. So, I'm the master of my fate, I'm the captain of my soul. And I feel that fits for us BBS because we can do whatever we want. If we work, you have to work out your limitations. That's what I've done. I found out what my limitations were. I had to work hard, and I'm not trying to do kidology here. There is a level of having to trial and error, but you will find how to get around those limitations. And if you work hard, you can get around them. It will take a lot of effort, but if you're committed in doing something, if you really want to do something, like if you love a sport like tennis, like I do, you'll think, well, I want to find ways around it. And there are these groups that will help you get around it. And it's been shown to benefit, as Dr. Forsyth's study has shown. It will have a really good benefit, not only for the mental side, the weight side, and there's endless possibilities to what we can do. It's just, don't let BBS make you think in terms of that, well, I can't do such and such because of that. There are ways around it, and I'd really like to try and help all our members increase their sporting attainment. So if you have any questions, I'll be grateful to receive them. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Christian. That was a really fantastic talk. Unfortunately, we've only got room really for one, max 2 questions. So does anybody have a question, a burning question that they want to ask now? Yes, there is somebody with a burning question.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm a mother for 2 sons with the BBS. One of my boys, he's 18 now, and he's in residential Hereford College. He's been doing really, really well, and he's so into sport. And he wanted to do like a fitness instructor, and he wanted to do also sport activity. And he's been doing the gym, going to the gym every day. But for some reason, he's just a little bit, he think like he cannot do it because he's blind and he lost so much of his eyesight. But he's also doing cricket.
Yeah.
Today, he's supposed to be here, but he's in Liverpool or Blackpool doing match.
Yeah.
And for the future, I wanted him to meet somebody like you, who just, because he has the BBS, it's not only the eyesight problem.
No.
So he think maybe, like you say, because he has that, he cannot do it, he cannot go any further. So in your opinion, he's able to do that. If he get in touch with you, or?
100%. He can do it.
Because he's so into sport, and he's determined to do that.
If you have the interest and the passion there, then I will do everything I can, my best endeavours to help him.
He has, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. As I said, take the cricket for an example.
Yeah.
I'm actually meant to be playing R&C later in the year, so I might actually bump into him. But yeah, the cricket's one of the examples. Yeah. They've got a really good league. They're really pushing people forward to get involved in it. And the way the game is designed is that it doesn't prejudice against one level of sight. Yeah. You have fully visually impaired people playing with partials, and it's done on a bounce level. And it's the same with tennis. When you're put in those categories, you're given a specific bounce level. So I play in the partials, but when I look at the fully visually impaired, they have enough bounces to try and make it as inclusive as possible for them. And yeah, he can do any sport that he wants. Yeah, get in touch with me. I'll go around with my email.
Thank you very
Definitely.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well done.
But Christian will be around.
Yeah, I will be around,
If
yes.
anybody wants to ask him any questions later, they can.
I'm in a yellow canary shirt, so you won't miss me. Thank you.